Thank you, Tobias. I guess, Tony, I'll go to the next slide for you.
Good morning, everybody. We're really happy to have you all on board with us today. And for those of you who are on vacation, we applaud that. We're very happy to have you enjoying your time off. We have some of our folks out today as well, so we're a little thin here too. But we're expecting FileWave 14.8 will release tomorrow for general availability. A few folks started getting it last week, but it's going to everybody starting tomorrow. If you go to the next bit there, Josh. There's a couple of things I want to point out with this release that are particularly of note for you before you start to upgrade. One, you can expect slightly longer than normal upgrade times for this particular upgrade. There was a change made to some of the integer formats that we have in the database that take a while for the conversion in the database. So it's to avoid us running out of numbers. Basically, when things get very, very large, we had to expand a few fields. And that takes a little while. For some of the largest environments, might take up to an hour, 2 hours. So you want to plan that upgrade for a time when you can accept that downtime during the upgrade, basically. So there is that to be aware of. There are a couple of new ports as well. This particular release has a lot to do with some underlying changes in the product, not as many feature-related things. But one of the things that we're doing is moving from our notification engine of 0MQ over to a NATS, which is a more cloud-friendly, basically a better protocol for notification. There are some new ports for that, so you'll want to make sure, especially if you're running in your own on-premise environment, that you make sure and open your firewall for those ports so that your admins can get to the notification. So those are called out in the release notes and in our knowledge base articles. And lastly, in the completion of our integration of TeamViewer, the older Observe client functionality that was VNC based is now fully removed in 14.8. So it's all TeamViewer and the great functionality that we have there. A couple of things that are new in this particular release. There's more personalization now in the web admin. It's an implied save, but there are preferences basically where you were last. For instance, when you log out, when you resume, you'll go back to that same place. Remembered views as far as some column settings and things that make it a little more friendly as well. So we've made some changes there. The FileWave client in 14.8 is also now 100% native Apple Silicon without the need for Rosetta 2. The booster and server, if you're running booster or server on Mac platform, those are mostly native, but we're continuing to work on that and we'll have those updated shortly. What's the missing piece? The admin still requires Rosetta 2 for sure. So that'll be the last piece that we fully complete with that. For any of you who have ever experienced the issue of double importing the same VPP token, which is kind of easy to do, we now prevent that by looking at some of the metadata that's related to that VPP token to try to prevent it so you don't run into an issue of licensing. That's been a big deal. And then there's some updates on the Windows MDM side, both with new device wipe command options, and we've also got a new profile for modifying Windows update ranks that I don't have mentioned here. Lastly, on this new release, one essential bug fix that I'll call out was Windows 11 support for PowerShell scripts, where that was broken in 14.7. That is now resolved in 14.8. So that may be, if you're managing Windows, that's kind of a big deal. So that's the release. Expect that to come out tomorrow, and you'll get updates on that soon. All right, next slide, if you would, Josh. So what are we talking about next? All right, if we're going to talk a little bit about roadmap and product board. So some of the things we're working on currently is an associations conversion tool, which is for the web. It allows associations to convert to deployments. We're going to give a little sneak peek of that a little bit later here today. We're also working on re-architecting our IVS solution, our imaging solution for Windows, so that it can support our customers who function with FileWave in the cloud. So that's kind of a big deal as well. We're working on the Apple fall release. There's a whole lot in the fall release for Apple, so that'll be upcoming in the fall. But of course, as always, there's lots of profile changes for DP. There's profile changes in configuration profiles, new functionality with the determinative. I get it wrong every time, but
deterministic. Was it?
That's it, deterministic behavior. So we're starting to work on that as well. So a whole lot of effort going on to the Apple Fall release right now. And in general, the team really have their noses to the grindstone working on the web admin console in general, working on performance and working in quality with that, because as we're moving to that, we need to make sure it's 100% solid. We also, as Tobias mentioned before, have a new hire, Gernot German, who is our new product manager. I've been in that role as an acting product manager for the last year and a half or so. So I'm thrilled personally to see Gernot join us. And he joins us coming from Autodesk, which is one of the few products that I'd say that might be just as complex and deep as our product. So we really look forward to his being here. Gernot, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, sure. So again, my name is Gernot Jeromin. I'm the new product manager, the new kid on the block. I come from the construction industry, so mainly. So I did pretty much everything, like plant, from petrochemical, power plants, nuclear, whatever, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. I did a lot in the AEC industry, including bridges and stuff like that. And I also did some really fun stuff like flying around with drones, making photos and creating 3D models out of those photos and ending up in real-time animation. So a lot of different stuff. And of course, connecting all that stuff what our customers used to do with the cloud and collaboration and stuff like that. I used to work in pre-sales, sales. I've established a few offices, actually multiple times for other companies. And I'm a product manager since over 13 years, gosh. And we used to live with my family in total over 8 years in sunny California in the US. You hear my accent that I'm German, and we are back in Germany. We live in Germany with the whole family. And it's totally exciting to be now at FileWave. So very important. What can I say to you as since I'm a PM or a product manager? I would love talking to you. So please reach out to me. Schedule calls. There's this QR code next to my picture. If you take out your cell phones and try to get the link, you will get access to Calendly. So you can schedule a call with me, meeting with me right away if you like. And please don't be shy. So my job is really like reaching out to you guys, discussing with you stuff, where you come from, where you want to go to, what do you need, why do you need it? And it's super important for the further discussions. So typically I say, if you don't talk to us, you can't expect anything. So if you want to get something done, just reach out to me and talk to me. There's other stuff like product board. I encourage you to go there and have a look at it, bring in new ideas, vote for ideas, and give us your feedback. We are tracking that. Sometimes it may not seem so, but we definitely do that. So spending a lot of time over there. And yeah, so just give us your feedback. So I'm with the company since only 5 weeks. It's awesome team, awesome company, cool stuff what we are doing, and be a little bit patient. I've learned a lot the last 5 weeks, and I have to learn a lot of more stuff in the future, of course. And yes, enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you, Gernot. And on the roadmap and the product board side of things, Josh, would you mind launching that video real quick? I just wanted to remind everybody kind of how that works if you've not done any submissions. In the knowledge base, you'll see there's an article on the FileWave, basically product management. There are 3 links in there. One for the roadmap that just shows you the roadmap, a second one that gives you the ability to give feedback on that roadmap, and a third that's just more general product suggestions. So if we take a look at that product suggestions portal here, it's going to kick us over to the Foundry where this information is, and you can submit feedback on any of the things we have posted, and you can submit any feedback on anything that's not posted. You can submit your own ideas. So when you click on one of the cards in this view and you scroll down to the bottom of that card, you'll see, you can say how important this particular thing is to you. So you can say it's nice to have, it's important, it's critical, and then you can give additional feedback here. You then just specify your email address and you can submit this basically feedback to us, and we use that internally for scoring requests, trying to understand how important it is to folks across the board. The roadmap portal is very much the same, where we're showing the things that we're working on in these releases, and you can give us feedback on those particular things as well. So really, there's a lot of different ways you can give us feedback. I do highly recommend that you reach out to Grinnell, speak to him if you like. Of course, I'm always available too, and you can give us feedback through the portal. Just want to make sure that everybody's aware that you can do it if you haven't. And many of you have, and we really appreciate all of the feedback. All right, Josh, we can head on back. All right. And on the next slide, we've reached out a number of times to you over the last couple of months because we've kind of made the big time in being attacked. We had a researcher attempt to attack our product. They were successful in attacking our product. We worked with them very closely to understand that attack vector to make a change. We fixed it kind of immediately, but we've been working on that now with all of you over the last couple of months to address the upgrades in the field. And thank you so much for all of your work to do that. A little bit more than 80% of our on-premise customers have upgraded their environments. There's still some stragglers. The CVEs for these vulnerabilities are now live, but the report on the actual vulnerability, exactly what it was, how it was attacked, what has been done to address it, is coming out next Monday at 3 p.m. Israeli time. We really do want to thank Clarity for working with us so much on this. They've been a really good partner in this, in both, and hopefully we'll continue to work with them in the future on things as well. All of the vulnerabilities that were identified by Clarity are addressed in version 14.6.3 and above, and version 14.7.2 and above, and of course fixed in 14.8. The release is tomorrow. For those of you who got annoyed with the emails, yes, we did overdo the emails a little bit, but we were trying to err on the side of taking care of you and making sure that everybody was aware of this. So we've really felt that over communication was the right path to take to make sure that everybody was up to speed. And just one more time, I will say that the Clarity has been great to work with on this. They've been very professional, and I think when you take a look at the report, you'll see it's very clear and concise. So we're pretty happy with that. Back over to you, Josh.
Actually, to Andreas for a second, and then to
yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited being here for more than 5 years with FileWave now, mainly as a sales engineer. I'm really excited to move to a new major role, which is what we call community manager, which has the goal bringing all of you people together. So you've been asking for this for a very long time and for a good reason. And yeah, now we start with this. We start with a customer forum, and English and German speaking part will be in there. It's planned to start to be online in fall this year. For those who just want to follow and read, it will be so read only. There's no login required. Who of you already has a FileWave account on our website, a knowledge base download page and everything, you will be able to use the same one on this. And yeah, again, I'm pretty excited to start this now, and see you soon, hopefully. And there is definitely more to come. As I said, we start with that forum, but there will be more, definitely. Looking forward to see you. Thank you, Josh.
Well, thank you, Andreas. Okay, so now for me, so there's US Training Day. So just speaking about North America for a second. We have this event in October that was announced. Hopefully everybody got an invitation to sign up for that. You know, that's where it's $500 per person. It'll be an all-day event, includes breakfast and lunch. There's the sample agenda that was sent out over on the right. If you saw this, we announced it a few months ago, and it was before your budget year. You know, but now your budget's open. You could register now, and we put a QR code here to make it easy for you to register. And if you miss seeing this QR code, it's at the very end of the Alliance meeting. We'll have the QR codes from this and a few other things listed on screen in case you miss getting it now. So in addition, there's a little change that we're going to do. So one, we want to have in-person events, and this is an in-person event. But two, for in-person events, I don't think we were ever handing out certificates for continuing education units before. I'm a person that has several certifications. I have a CISSP, I have CompTIA A+, and Linux Plus, and Project Plus. And for any of you that have certifications, you know, most of them have a renewal process, and most of them allow you to have CEUs from other organizations. So, you know, if you attend a training, we should give you something that, you know, says that you attended and got 7 hours worth of instruction or something, so that you could use it for those other renewals. It just gives you a little, you know, extra value to that to use towards your other renewals. And those CEUs will also be used by us. I'm going to talk about the Foundry a bit in a minute, but we're also kind of redoing the FileWave certification program, and those will play into that as well. Okay. We also want to, you know, do things in Europe and, you know, ultimately in Asia, and, you know, we want to cover, you know, all the areas that we do business. So in Europe, we are planning actually a virtual event at this time. COVID's been a bit of a problem, and so, you know, if you use this QR code, you can register your interest in a virtual event. And, you know, if the timing works for you and you can't travel to Indy, you know, maybe you attend this virtual Europe event, even if you're in North America. And again, it would have CEUs. This is planned to be all day. You know, there'll be, because it's virtual, we're thinking of ways that you could communicate, like a chat room, you know, so that you can interact and get to know other customers as well. There'll be some kind of networking to it as well. And this one's planned for September, where the other one's in October. So, you know, scan this QR code if you have interest, and we'll collect your name and email so that we can keep communicating with you about it. Okay, so next, I want to talk about something called FileWave Assist, that if you're in North America and you had a renewal that came up for September and moving forward, those are the folks that would have seen this name and wondered, what is FileWave Assist? And this is something that, you know, is starting with these renewals, but will, you know, continue to spread as an offering, you know, around the world, and even for new customers who come on board. So the idea was, we've always had something called the TAP program. If you've ever spoken with me or Tony Keller in the past about TAP, it was about 40 hours of us working with you. You know, we'd work with you monthly, we'd build things for you, we'd have this partnership together, but 40 hours can be, you know, a bit expensive. So it excludes a lot of customers who might, you know, if you spend, let's say, $1,000 a year with us, do you want to spend $10,000 on professional services? Not necessarily. Some people would, but not everyone. So we rethought this. The TAP program still exists as a thing. You could still sign up for that. But FileWave Assist will be on your renewal, where you could choose the renewal path that does not include it. This is not like a forced purchase, but there'll be a second renewal that shows you the price of FileWave Assist. And the idea is, no matter your size, the smallest version of this gives you a monthly, you know, about an hour-long session. And in the smallest one, it's groups. So you and, you know, maybe 3 other customers, anywhere from 4 to 6 customers grouped together. Maybe we'll have some other larger group things available, right? Because part of this program, we might have, you know, a workshop on APIs. We might talk about, you know, why and how to set up third-party authentication like Google, Azure, or Okta. So we want to make these interesting, and we want to, in the smallest ones where it ends up being groups, we're going to try and focus on the things that are important to the group. If we have 4 customers that use, FileWave to manage Macintosh systems, we're not going to spend time on Chromebooks, except if, the group would like to pursue that. Then, as you move, it's a continuum. So as you move like a step up, it becomes more one-on-one, same thing, monthly calls. And as it gets to be bigger and bigger, and this is all kind of sized on, based on what your annual purchase is with us. We don't offer you the largest program because, again, that wouldn't make sense. Otherwise you would have bought a TAP. We try and size it to the size of organization you are. And we start to add things like a full health check, 1 full day access to US Training Day. With US Training Day coming up, we're going to think to the future, and we hope that October is successful and that we would want to have in-person events and maybe also virtual events in 2023. And so we can make the benefit be access to that. So we're going to try and think of things that give you value as it gets larger. And if you get the FileWave Assist on your renewal and you say to yourself, I really want these other things, we can certainly, offer you the larger one. We're making assumptions based on, purchase history. And so definitely let us know if you see a renewal and you have questions. You can have a meeting with me or, your customer experience person and talk about it. And like I said, North America right now, but, as we develop this and the material for it and it all gets built out, we want to do it globally. Okay, so this one is kind of a global thing. And the next couple of things I'm going to talk about are kind of the free things that we offer, right? Because we need to enable you. We need to make sure you're able to use the products, that our materials are good, that you don't necessarily always have to pay for access to material. There's a certain amount of material that we should just be giving you. And the Foundry was always a great resource, right? Tony Keller built it up initially. It didn't have as much attention in the past. I've been here a year. I had a lot to do when I got on board, and Foundry, I'll be honest, it isn't where it should be at this very moment. However, we are in the midst of redesigning the content and marking what should get updated. I've already stripped it of anything that appeared obviously, gone, like, FileWave Engage, right? Doesn't exist, should be removed everywhere that we can unless it's buried within other content. We've added surveys at the end of each course so that you can tell us what you think of these courses. We also, it's not a bullet point here, but we used to charge access for the 200 level material in Foundry. We made that all just open to anyone. If you can't get into Foundry, just let customer experience know, or you can email the email address that you see. We made a simple Foundry@FileWave that goes to me. And I can make sure that you have access. If you're stuck, you can't log in, you just send me an email and we'll straighten it out. So, we've done some cleanup. We've put in some course surveys. We've identified things like the move over to TeamViewer from Observe that we need to change. And between Tony and Sean and myself, we're actually going to devote quite a bit of time to refreshing these materials and making them, even better than they were. So you should check it out and go through it. All the material that's there is pretty relevant still. We just want to add more things like web admin. I should also mention, it runs on Moodle. A lot of our customers are education customers, and you might use Moodle in your organization. If you happen to know Moodle pretty well, and you know that we could be doing something better, send me feedback, because I try to keep up on what Moodle is capable of. But, if you use it in your everyday and you know something that could be better, let me know. And I'm happy to make that improvement. Okay. The knowledge base, everybody would have seen emails about this. The migration from our on-premise instance of Confluence to the cloud. So we did that, we completed that July 9th. And that migration appears, largely successful. We tried to put redirects in so that if you had bookmarked some things from emails we had sent out or from the web page, that they should jump over to the new, but we can't redirect everything. So if you hit something that's a dead end, you'll get a page to that effect. If there's something that you think is broken or completely wrong, or you have any kind of feedback, KB at FileWave, another easy to remember email address, and you can let us know. There's also a new feature in this new version. There was a lot of benefit to going to this version. One is being, cloud-based. SaaS works out for patching, right? So you can choose your release track. We picked the bundled release track. So periodically there will be updates to the system. Confluence lets us know, they apply them, we can test. It's all really simple. We have guaranteed 99.9% uptime, I believe it was. So, with on-premise, we have to deal with having that server somewhere and whatever the uptime is of that and maintaining it. But now, we're reliant on Atlassian to take care of it, and they're pretty good at that. So for archiving of pages, you'll see on the portal, if you go to the lower left-hand corner, you'll see an archived pages. So we're not necessarily deleting pages, we're going to archive them. So if there was something important we think it's irrelevant, but there was something you were really looking for, you should be able to see archived pages. I'm also working with a vendor about the ability to rate pages. And I believe later today, they told me that they'll have a release that will work with our particular configuration. And so if you notice in the KB that some stars appear in the upper right-hand corner, that's where you can sort of rate the quality of an article. And I'm hopeful, again, that later today that will appear. They had a little defect that they had to work out, but they think they have it working for us. We've been going through every article, trying to make sure that they make sense, should they be there. There's some new analytics in the knowledge base, so we can see what you're searching for, whether it got a result for you, whether you clicked on it, because if we know what you're searching for and whether you were able to find it, we can improve the content. So this is part of our, trying to make it better before you even realize that you needed it to be better. So we're gonna look for that and keep on categorizing things and updating them. The download space is still a separate space that you can get to from that link. And when we release 14.8 to everybody, then that page will be posted in the download space, just like before. And there'll be email communication to this effect. So should be smooth. So the next thing is, we talked about this the last couple of Alliance meetings, that we wanted to have web admin workshops, something to kind of show you where the web admin was, teach you, how it works, and have something interactive where it's not just videos posted in YouTube or, perhaps in the Foundry. We wanted to have, kind of a one-on-one session. And what we came up with is that starting next Thursday, and basically every other Thursday for 5 Thursdays, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central European time, we're going to have 2-hour sessions. And if you go to this QR code, you can sign up for the session or sessions that you're interested in, because each session will not be a repeat of the last. Think of it like we're having 5 AMAs where folks can ask anything. We'll have certain things we want to show, like deployments versus associations. What's happening with associations? What can you do in the web admin perhaps better than the native admin? We'll go through that, and because it'll be, probably smaller groups because we spread it out over 5 sessions, you'll be able to ask your questions. And even if we can't address every question on that session, we'll follow up with you. And if you attend that session and you had a question after it, we'll have contact info so you can ask us, a follow-up question. So this is free. So sign up to one if it works for you. I would say the only thing we haven't done with this is offer it in Asia Pacific time zone that is particularly good. We're going to think about that, because we do want to help everybody globally. So we're going to look at, doing that for the future.
And of course,
Okay,
it's
so
the
then
middle
back
of
to
the.
Tony.
And of course, it's the middle of the night for our friends
Yeah,
in Asia
yes,
Pacific right now, so they're not here to notice anyway. It'll be all right.
yes.
But we would really like to do those web admin workshops in time zone as well. So we'll definitely work on that. Before I start talking about deployments, just a little bit, Josh, can you go back to the training day slide for just a second? I want to throw you a curveball since you're doing the presentation. But we didn't really cover much with regard to the things we're actually talking about, but I'm really looking forward to this. Those of you who've been to the Alliance events before, we've always did training day along with the Alliance event, and that's basically what this is we're just doing it as a standalone, and we're really excited for some of this content. I think there's going to be some things, again, we're going to talk about deployments, but custom fields, a lot of folks don't make the kind of use of custom fields that they could, right? So that's in that morning track where we're kind of just have everybody together, and then in the afternoon we're going to break that out in this kind of full day session where we're looking at things in an intermediate track, like how you build an automated workflow, how do you set it up so that you use the power of FileWave and the flexibility of FileWave without actually looking at FileWave. Your system's doing the stuff while you're over doing something else, right? And that's really the goal and the whole point of FileWave was, of course, to be an efficiency engine. So we're really looking forward to this training day, and in that advanced track, especially the API utilization. If you're wanting to take things to the next level with FileWave and even further automate things in your environment and do some really complex things, using the API to do it is great. We recently had a customer that wanted to do just some things that you wouldn't think you could do, like make a student an admin on their Windows workstation, but they're only an admin at nighttime. They're not actually an admin during the day. And at nighttime they can install stuff, but in the day they can't install stuff. And past 11 p.m. the device needs to shut down. All of these things that seem like they'd be impossible. When you start combining all of the tools that we have between the APIs, between custom fields, between FileWave policies, for instance, and we should probably cover that somewhere on training day, all of those things stitched together make for a heck of a flexible and powerful tool. So we really look forward to seeing you at training day. And if you haven't signed up and you think you might be able to make it by, please do. And that, what's that date again? October 6th. So we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I guess I would add that, for the EU one, so the same group of us that are building content for the US one are building the EU one. So you should see, really good and interesting things in some of the materials that, as we've been reviewing them, they're incredibly interesting. Sean has made a thing that I didn't even think about being possible with being able, well, I don't want to give it away, but he's made some interesting things to show off that we're going to use in both events. So, perhaps you attend both, but there will be some overlap in material between the two.
And hey, maybe you want to mention that Josh, that Sean's joined the PS team.
Yeah. I think I talked about that he was moving into it in a past one, but yes, he's officially in Pro Services. Although if you open up a ticket in Europe for the next 3 weeks, you'll probably also speak with Sean, but he is generally in PS. He's doing backup where needed if support needs help. All
right, so let's move on back to deployments. And I do want to say, Josh listed off his quite long list of credentials. I'm a certified dad and farmer, and that's pretty much the end of my list of certifications. But I've been doing this a long time, and we've had a lot of questions about deployment, so we're going to talk just a little bit about it today. This is mostly more about the webinar, though. So if you get a chance, sign up for one of those webinars, at least one of them, to get a little bit more of a flavor for the web admin. But one of the things that's different in the web admin is deployments. In a previous slide, it said deployments versus associations. It's not really versus. They're not conflicting. They're not against each other. But deployments are slightly different than associations. Deployments are basically moving associations up one level. It's kind of like an Uber association, if you will. So a deployment allows you to group associations and make them just one entity, but combine multiple associations. So we're going to talk in the webinar specifically about what deployments are, how they're different from associations. They're mostly the same, but there are some differences. How are deployments more efficient? And that's the main reason this change, in fact, I wouldn't even call it a change. Let's call it an enhancement. It's the main reason this enhancement was implemented from the very beginning of our move to the web admin, is to try to make associations at least a little bit more efficient. There's also the open question, and the thing that's held a lot of folks up on deployments is it possible to change an association into a deployment? And we're going to give just a little preview of that today. And then we'll also cover things like, if you start to use deployments now, are you committed to using them forever? So we're going to answer all these types of things. But just as a little teaser, we don't normally show work that's kind of ongoing, but the team has been working very, very hard on converting associations to deployments. And I'd like to show you a little preview of that. Josh, if you wouldn't mind.
The video?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind firing up that video. Thank you. We graciously had a customer volunteer their data for this, so thank you very much. I don't want to call them out, but I want to say thank you. You know who you are. And in this view, you'll see associations actually showing in the web admin, and like many of your, you can go ahead and play that, Josh. Okay. Like in many of your environments, you'll see that maybe you haven't done so many deployments, but on the associations front, there are thousands. Right? You have just tons of them, almost, you know, from the very tiny environments to very, very large environments. There's usually a lot of associations. In this view, you'll see the associations, you see what file set revision is being used, and then most importantly, what device group or clone it's being assigned to, and what type of association it is. So if we look here, we'll see that we've got this little group of all computers. So we've got content assigned to all computers, and you can see that the type there on these is kiosk, some others are standard. So if you pause for a second there, Josh, thank you. You'll see here we're selecting 3 associations. And the reason we're selecting these is because basically they're metadata matches. This association is going to the same group, in this case, to all computers, and all 3 of them are kiosk. So these 3 kind of belong together. We can make a singular deployment, convert these 3 records into one thing, and just put those payloads on the payloads tab. You can go ahead and click play on that now. Right? So that's why these 3 make sense. When we click move to deployment, right, it's going to allow us to either add them to an existing or create a new one. This is another big change here, is you're able then to name the deployment, which makes it much easier to find it later, and you can name it logically. So in this case, I called it all computers kiosk. You can see the target there was the all computer group, and all 3 of these are payloads. And then on the options tab, you'll see it's set to kiosk, which is what they all were before. When we publish that, right, after seeing the summary here, when we publish that, that's now going to show in deployments that we've got a new deployment called all computers kiosk that we can come back and edit later. And those associations that we had before have now gone away. So when we scroll down here and take a look in that all computer section, you can see we've only got the 2 standard associations now, not those kiosk ones. So that's the purpose of this tool. And if we keep it simple here, we'll do the same basic example with a standard or direct installation. Right? We'll do the same process. Again, name it meaningfully, right? Which makes it very easy to come back to later. And what this means is if I later want to add something to all computers, either in a kiosk form or in direct installation form, I don't have to create a new association. I can just add the payload into the deployment, and I'm done. It's very similar to what some of you may be doing if you're using file set groups. It works basically exactly the same way. So here we've got the 2 deployments. Now, Josh, if you wouldn't mind pausing one more time when I get to these, let it go for just a second more. Right? If you pause after I select these 3 items. Right? If we look at this, we're selecting 3 things, and you notice when you look at the detail here, that yes, they're all three going to all staff, but you notice that I've picked something that's not the same. One of them is kiosk and two of them are standard. So a lot of the things that the team are working on right now are not the easy things, the things that we just showed. That work's all done. But what we're working on are dealing with the conflicts. What happens if you're trying to merge multiple things? And there are lots of reasons that you may actually want to do that. So go ahead and click play here. And we're going to create a deployment from these three, right? And basically convert these associations into the deployment. So it's kind of the same process, but kiosk and standard are not the same thing. And you'll notice that when we create a new deployment here, and of course give it a name, on the options tab, you see it's showing us a conflict. If you want to pause there for a second, Josh. So it shows us that of the things that we've put in this deployment, two of them are direct associations, and one of them is a kiosk association. So that means if we want to continue this conversion to a deployment, we're still going to get rid of those associations, but that might have an impact on the endpoints, right? So you have to pick what you want to do here and resolve that conflict before you can actually save this. And then, although it's not implemented here, we won't see it in this particular build, there's also a preview at the end that allows you to preview all the changes before you actually commit them. But you can go ahead and click play here again, Josh. And we'll go ahead in this case and select the direct installation. And if you pause one more time for me, you'll see here that as soon as we pick direct, then we've got our timing options as far as installation are concerned. And that's another bit of the metadata that when we're doing these conversions that could conflict. Those payloads that we have assigned in an association might have different timing options. Those are things that can conflict. And when you're on the payloads tab itself, as soon as we start doing dependencies, which many of you use, and file set revisions, which many of you use, we get additional things that can conflict here. So we're trying to make this as streamlined, as simple as we possibly can, but at the same time accounting for all the kind of edge cases and things that pop up here. So that's in progress now. We expect this to release sometime in the fall. This conversion tool is our expectation. And in general, on the web admin, we're really spending time in what I kind of consider the triangle of importance with FileWave, which is the devices view, the payloads view, and the deployments view, the things that give us that kind of three-legged stool for deploying content. And that's it for the video, Josh. You can go ahead and kill that one. So in a nutshell, that's a little bit of some of the stuff we're doing with deployments. And in next week's webinar, of course, we'll be covering some of that. And when I say we, I mean other people will be covering that, and I might drive by. We'll see. But now I think we're going to hand things over. I think Caroline, you're going to talk a little bit about class bases.